A correct understanding of historical dating is provided by the work of modern researchers on the new chronology. Let's consider the evidence of these datings on facts, on monuments, tombstones, crypts, pillars, inscriptions that can be freely viewed. Let's not confuse this with other dating versions. We will look at them in other movies. Modern researchers are extending the universal theory of Tartary to Eastern Europe, and where it has never existed. In Slovakia, a dating was discovered with the Latin letter I or J instead of the number 1. In Slovak the letter is read correctly IE, but not J as in France, or English. Albert Dürer's painting Christ in the Predica. What did Christ do in hell? His assignment in it is not familiar to us in our time. We are using photographs from Slovakia as an example. Let's consider the chronological facts. Here we see the dating of the I-510. Interesting topic, dating from the birth of Jesus Christ here is either 1500 or if I is not 1000, then it means he is 500 years old here. Or it means Jesus, number 18. Interesting dating examples are found in Smolensk Castle in Slovakia. Near this castle there is the village of Dobra Voda. Local residents walk to the castle along a short road through the cemetery. Modern researchers have noticed that the date on the tombstones was updated. But they didn't destroy or rewrite it. Recently, such a fashion has arisen in Slovakia. People want to go to tombs, churches, temples, and monasteries. There is great interest among young people. Perhaps they want to know about the life of their ancestors in difficult times. The church welcomed this initiative and joined the Greek Catholics. The gospel was introduced throughout Slovakia. Everything was open, people went into the dungeon in crowds to pray for the people, for Slovakia, for a peaceful sky, and for there to be no war. People threw out their photographs, which had dates on them, I and J were found, and other evidence of false official dating. Even fakes and falsified dates, in which the letter I was obviously rewritten as the number 1. City of Nitra, the Latin letter is clearly visible on the portal and instead of the number 1. Year a 720. City of Trnava. Here you can see the alteration of the letter I to the number 1. The main line was extended up to the point and a small ruler was added to the left, on which you can see that it was simply added. Year a 843. City of Trnava. Here they tried very hard to erase not only the date, but also the name, but the number 1 is definitely not in the date. Year I 800. City of Trenčín. Forgers also worked here in front of the church in the village of Gayari. There's a monument there with 2 dates with a capital I, but it was clearly added later by someone else. Town of Topolcany. Here we finally get to the fakes. The letter I is clearly visible in the dating. A very interesting thing is in the black frame on the right, there is a letter I in the upper corner, a letter J in the lower corner, read as I or E, which means, according to the official doctrine, the same person or not. The wreath is also interesting, it means antique style. And then the falsifiers worked. City of Košice, everything is visible, everything is correct. Year I 787 and year I 763, City of Levice, letter J. This is an abbreviation of the word, here they call Jesus by the name Jesus, therefore the letter J. And in Latin Jesus, therefore the letter I or capital I, and that makes all the difference. Year, J 839, City of Košice, Church. This is also a fake. In the inscription on tomb number 90 you can see how the letter I was replaced with 1, and right there in number 15 the difference between them is very clearly visible. The year is the city of Trnava, the letter I is clearly visible here. The city of Bratislava, here is the 3rd type of dating, which researchers may not know about, because they do not mention it. This is a view with a capital Latin letter I. At first glance, it seems that the number is 1. The form in which the number 1 was written in those days can be seen in the writings on the burials. On the tomb there is the number 140, the year I-77 plus the letter Z. On the tomb there is the number 139, I-77, and the letter J. On the tomb the number is 124, May 9th I-77. And now a surprise, a map of the siege of Bratislava and the fighters against Napoleon. At that time the city was called Pressburg and was the capital of Ugarsk, from June 1, 809. This is the official map of the battles for Bratislava of the Austro-German army. The red and white are Slovak defenders, which means that the date June 1, 809 was official in Austria-Hungary at that time. But it was all like this: Vienna was scared, the elites surrendered, opened the city to Napoleon, and Slavic Bratislava fought for more than a month. 4,500 defenders of the capital fought heroically against 18,000 soldiers of the united invaders, the armies of Napoleon and the Italian prince. But they couldn't take Bratislava. When Napoleon went east with war in 1811, he remembered the 3,400 killed of his soldiers and bypassed Slovakia through Moravia and Poland. And it was just one Slovak city that fought. To the two familiar types of dating I and J, we have added another type of dating with a capital Latin letter I. The Slovak language has been Latinized for 400 years. The font is Segoe script bold I700. And here is the original I77 plus the letter Z. Well, now the same date, only with the number 1 instead of the capital Latin J, 1700. The number 1 is different from the capital letter I, and the difference is obvious. And now another artifact: it is not hidden, and is located in front of the church in the village of Gaiari in Slovakia. There is a pedestal with a sculpture and a date there. There are two of them: the I600 is the I60 and the letter O. And I148, possibly I748. There, most likely, the date is I148, so that it indirectly confirms both the summer of I60 and the letter O as the correct date. The letters A and D at the very top mean in Latin Anno Domini, that is, in the summer of the Lord. Nobody in the village remembers what the letters I hesitant face mean, but this church itself is from the 13th century. As early as the late 19th century, dating was done in the I or J style, but datings with a capital Latin letter I are found only on inscriptions from the 15th to 17th centuries. Then, already in the 17th century, they switched to style I or G, which began to be distorted and rewritten in the 19th century. And this was already the English-speaking century. Now that we are discovering real evidence about the birth of Jesus, and so on based on dating, approximately in 1154, as modern researchers prove, and then the question arises: who was born 2,000 years ago? Perhaps then one of the characters with the name Christ, Christos or Krestos, was born. It is interesting that there are no dating dates with the letter I in modern history. And already 1,154 years later, the second savior named Jesus in Slavonic Jesus began a new chronology. In Slovakia they pray to Jesus, and in Russia they pray to Christ. In Slovakia, little Jesus carries gifts under the Christmas tree. There are also many places where only one Jesus is mentioned. And all this suggests that what if medieval history falsifiers combined both different characters into one? The creators of history themselves left us the evidence. Today, few people remember that Christ was born in Nazareth in a carpenter's house and grew up there. But Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the stable on hay. The star was shining for him, wasn't it? And in the 19th century, they returned the summer of reckoning back to the birth of Christ. It must be admitted that history as a whole is made up of disparate facts that contradict each other. And they expose biblical history if you start to compare the veils. What also saves the situation is that all this is in different cultures, in different states, and then these contradictions can be attributed to mistakes. Whoever understands and interprets it and accepts it on faith, the main condition of which is not to double-check or investigate the facts, but to believe official information, politicians, and historians.